Hi, today I'd like to talk about picking a palette. Get you all straightened out. Okay, now this sounds a lot better in my head, but as soon as I turn on the camera it sounds, ugh. Anyway, let me tell you what I've done. I've been working in watercolor since 2013, and I've gone through a lot of palettes because when I began it, I started reading, and I immediately found out that everybody had a different idea of what palette was supposed to be. I started out with this one, which I think everybody does. You immediately find out that the paints in here, this is a Winsor Newton field set, and the paints are inferior. They're student grade. The little tiny brush is terrible. I don't know why I keep it. Anyway, and also these little goodies, they come in little kits of all sorts of stuff. You can still use these for something. I don't know what. There's no place to mix colors or anything. They're kind of like for kids. I want to tell you right now that when I first started painting, I worked mainly from a website called paintbasket.com, and he had a really cool idea. He had his paints in covered, little tiny covered like pill boxes. And then I found this one. This is called a Possum Palette from possumpalette.com. I don't even know if they still make them. I started gaining too many of these because I started gathering more and more paint. But what's really neat about these is I could put my my names on the top, and it kept the paints nice and moist. And I think that, I don't know when I opened this last. Like, I don't even know. But I can see, even though it's been like years that these have been covered, the paints are still really good. I could turn around and use this right now. I like this paint palette because I really like this type of plastic. I'm not going to guess what kind it is, because as soon as I say that, it would be something different. Look, even the, yep, everything's still wet. Wow, I'm impressed. But yeah, I like this because it's soft, it's flexible, it can be dropped. It didn't crack. Many of the palettes are breakable. It doesn't have to have a cover. You can rearrange them. You can put them any way you want. You could add to them. It's awesome. Now you can see I've got the name of the paint, plus I've got the number here, which represents it's how opaque or transparent it is. Very transparent. And then we got very opaque, 5. That comes from a book that I can talk about that. Anyway, like I said, I read a lot of books and started figuring out which ones I wanted to use. That was a cool, very cool one, but it is hard to find, I think. The Possum Palette. Had to, woman in, I think back east makes these. Okay. Now, the first thing I did was take a class. Like I said, I was working with paintbasket.com, doing their lessons, and that was really cool. But then I went and took a class from Tony Couch. Read this book, absorbed it, did all his lessons, learned. Oh my gosh, he is the best. In fact, you probably need to start with this book. If you need to get a book, the first book you should get, Tony Couch's. He is a student at Whitney, who is a teacher for many, many of the artists nowadays. Tony is still teaching. He's in his 90s now. I think he wants to be up in 100, just like his teacher was. This is his palette. It's called, I think it's a John Pike palette. They make those still, with a big, large, deep well right in the middle for And then, let's see, for mixing, and then his paints around the outside, they look like this too. There was hardly any paint. He doesn't use very many colors, and they were messy. Ugh. But I don't know, he makes gorgeous paintings, and he's always showing with the American Watercolor Society. He was on in the traveling show last time I saw him, and he's awesome. So I went ahead. I did not get a Pike palette. I used my my Possum palette. But then I heard people say that he didn't like that one. Well, okay, fine. Anyway, I also read a book. This is by Jane Hofstetter, and she has a wonderful book. She's a Bay Area artist, and her palette, very small, was the same one that I'd already gotten a long time ago from my daughter, so I have used it, and I still use this one all the time. I use this when I go to classes, and what I do is I just have my paints names on the outsides, because I forget what they are. And then, I mean, they have it like this, but watercolors don't hold their palette anyway. I mean, you'd end up with stuff all over your arm. Forget that. Water everywhere. Nope. But this is a really good, inexpensive. I think they're like $10 on Amazon. And that was Jane Hofstetter's. This is a little bit more, even though it's a heavy kind, it's a little brittle. I haven't broken that one, but it can. This is another book, Jim Kosvanik's Watercolor Wheel. This is where I got the color theory with the different opaqueness. He is an awesome artist and writer. If you don't know what colors to start with, he goes through every single color you need, and his palette is really small. It's just a strip with the round ones here and the oblong ones here, and it's basically looks just like this illustration. But he's got his own color theory. It's really good. And I use this all the time. I read this a long time ago, and I still use it. We were talking about Edgar Whitney. He was an artist who was the teacher of many, many artists now. One of them was Skip Lawrence. And I said, well, you know, I'm going to see if I can get an Edgar Whitney style palette. Now, he calls his an O'Hara palette. Now, O'Hara, oh yeah, that's right. I've got his books too. His teacher was O'Hara. And he was one of the very first artists that actually used the media of making movies to teach watercolor. His Elliot O'Hara. And his book was really old. So what I did was I got his books, and I found he was a really good author too. I mean, he's easy to read. His examples are clear, even though everything's in, of course, black and white. The books are falling apart. This has a whole series. This is making watercolor behave, making the brush behave. He's controlling the flood. It's basically what it is. And so I searched and found out what he meant by an O'Hara palette by looking that up. He says, I use an O'Hara palette upon which the color is a mound on a flat surface. The reason for this is that sullied color runs off and leaves pure color available on the top of the mound. A dinner plate or enameled tray has the same advantage. Any palette with color in a depression is mechanically inferior. Contaminated color becomes a constant problem. Water stays in the declavities when your paper is wet. You cannot get dry color into wet areas. Masterpieces have been painted with colors in little holes, but despite this handicap, not because of it. Well, as you can see, that was, I showed you a picture of Tony's thing, which is like, yuck. I mean, you look at that and you go, well, how does he ever get yellow when he's got all this green on top of it? Well, he does. I don't know. He just kind of wipes it off with a tissue if he needs to. But I was interested in that, so I got this. Skip Lawrence makes O'Hara palettes, and he calls this Skip Lawrence palette. He took his name. So anyway, what it is it's the acrylic top, and it's got the places to put your color. You can put it like in there. I don't know if you're supposed to put it there or there, but anyway, I didn't use it too much. But what's cool about this is that you can wipe it right off the edge and clean it completely off. And when we're talking about cleaning, what you can do to get your palettes completely white again is use the Elmer's, the sponges, the magic eraser sponges. They're made of melamine, and they can get most of the colors off. They can even get phthalo blue off eventually. But that was cool. I should use this one. But no, I got too many. Anyway. So that was Edgar Whitney's idea. And he was quite the character, and Tony quotes him all the time. It's great. Go to a Tony Couch workshop if you can. It's just amazing. He is so good. Another one that I tried was, let's see, Stephen Quiller. Now, Stephen Quiller has a theory of color. Of course, he's the big color guy. He made a palette that's set up like this. This is a small version by Guerrilla Painters, and they made a small one, so you can take it with you, but he has a full-size one. And notice that one. He has one. He's got it. His is all beat up. I took pictures of that one. If I can, I'll clip it into this. There's all these books that I have not read. But anyway, he's got them set up in a circle. And with a big well in the center for mixing, and then what I did was I took all the colors and I put them around the outside. These are his colors. Whenever you go to a class, you have a teacher and they give you recommendations for your paint, and you try your best to do exactly what they say and buy all the paint, and oh my gosh, you know, then you got a palette here with, like, I would never use this color, Permanent Green Light. That is not my color. But so far, the colors I still stick with are Tony's colors, because he says, you know what? Colors are colors. It doesn't matter what they're named. It's all marketing. So, oh, wow. So his is a very simple, and you can paint anything with it. What I ended up with was going to, this is Sterling Edwards. This is a Sterling Edwards palette. It's got this huge top that you can use to mix on if you want, or in this great big area in the center. The material it's made of, it's very sturdy. It flexes. Whoa, sorry about that. You can break it if you really try. I mean, I did, but what I found I can do is I just took a, sorry, I keep hitting that. Where's my eraser? Am I filming? Wait a minute. Yeah. Wait a minute. Okay. Anyway. Yes, I do have one. Okay. Yeah. So if you take a a magic eraser. Doesn't work as well on the phthalo blue as it does on the other colors, but it does, you know, it will eventually if you keep on working at it. Get it back to white. I like white. Some people don't care. Some people don't ever clean their palettes at all. They just, you know, keep using what's there on the palette, which is a neat idea too, you know, but depends on the artist. Okay, and I put the name of the colors around the outside. Now I put this in Tony speak, but I also put the name of the color. Like here's green blue is phthalo green. Green with yellow in it is the green gold. Blue with purple in it is the French ultramarine blue, and then we've got cobalt blue up in the middle. Blue with green in it is phthalo blue, green shade. Then black green is undersea green. That's actually a combination of French ultramarine blue and the quinacridone gold. That's a good color. You can mix it both with this and that. If you want to have a ready-made green, that's a good one. Then I got black. Tony says you can use black. Why not? It's there. Though sodalite is a good color. It's not exactly black. It's more like a blue black. And then peach black is like a true black. I've got red with purple in it. It's more to the blue. It's quinacridone red. I've got brown with blue in it. That's burnt umber. Red with orange in it. That's organic vermilion. I use that instead of cadmium red. Okay, then brown with orange in it is quin burnt orange. Purple with red in it. Boy, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because I can't remember what it is. It's not pearl violet. It is. I can't find it. Where did my glasses go? Oh, here it is. Okay, that is perylene violet, which I love. I accidentally picked it up for the store when I didn't know what I was doing, but I love it. It's a beautiful red purple. Okay, this is an orange with green in it. No. Yeah, that's yellow ochre. So it goes to more green. There's more of the blue purple is up here. Purple with blue in it is Windsor violet. We got orange with the orange brown is the quin gold. Or it could be the other way, yellow with orange in it, whatever you want to call it. Yellow with orange in it is New Gamboge. Yellow with orange. Well, this is more like a true yellow with green. Yuck. Yellow with orange. Cadmium yellow. I think it's cadmium yellow medium. But see how, yeah, see, now I see what Whitney was saying, that it was, I just read that today, that the depressions are not as, or inferior, he says. Well, you know, I can see what he means, because you have to clean up your colors every once in a while. Get up there. Make a mess. Okay, and the last one, the yellow with green in it, is Alyslynn. You don't pronounce it, you just use it. Okay, but this is the Sterling Edwards palette. This is the one I use most of the time. Now what I really, really love to use is not this, but actually this. Now when you're looking for palettes, you will see porcelain as a palette option. You go, porcelain, and it's expensive. And I started thinking, well, you know what? Maybe they got something at the thrift store. I found this. This is called a Counter Saver. And it's by Corian. It was made up through the 70s, I think. It's got this heavy duty, I don't know what's inside, why it's so stiff. It's a type, I don't know if it's porcelain or plastic or metal or what, but it's not plastic, but anyway. It is so flat. Look at that, it's beautiful flatness. And you can, when you mix on this, the paint just stays right there. When you're using plastic, it like sprinkles out and it acts weird. And the first thing you do, especially when you got a brand new palette, and it's really frustrating because the paint's going all over. It's not clumping. You just, I tried everything to try to, make it work on it, because the new palettes, everybody hates them because they act strangely. But it's just getting used to your own palette. It'll always look weird. But this is great. I mean, I have a couple. This is my small one. I sometimes take this one to workshops. Then I found on eBay they had one that was a trivet. I went, wow, it's 6 by 6. Maybe I should get an even smaller one. I love stuff. This is the one I usually use. See how big it is? And this one, you could just, I can actually not use a palette. I also like to just put the colors I'm using right out here and then just squish them together out here. And that way you have fresh paint all the time. And if you, wanted to keep it fresh, you just take a top from one of the palettes and stick it over it. I also have a little flat spongy thing, and I wet that and I put that on it, close by to keep it wet. Okay, now that's it for the palettes. Also, if you wanted to, these are from the store, at least my store. I've got these weird little porcelain things, and you can use these. Like I like to use these for my masking or my opaque, my whites. Like if I'm using some sort of permanent white, then I put it in there. Now, okay, I can also show you some fails. These are things I tried out, wasted my money on. You can decide if you want to waste your money on them. At least you know what you're going to waste your money on. You will. You'll get a lot of different ones and go, these don't work. But you know what? That's just the way it is. You have to. I was just going to look at this. Like it's another one I haven't opened in a long time. Yeah, see? Ticky, ticky, tack. Yeah, this is tacky. Yeah, what I do here, why it's not all dried up, is the dogs are going crazy. Is because I always spray over them a mixture of glycerin and, just a minute, I'm going to go get it. Glycerin and, okay.